There we go. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I'm new to Livestorm. So good to meet you. I think we're live. Sorry, I thought we'd be able to chat for a second before this kicked off, but it's on. So maybe we just dive into it and do our
Yeah,
own
let's do
intro
it.
as we get rolling.
Mhm.
Cool. So context for everyone. There's been a few threads in our Slack community recently about B2B video strategy, covering like a very wide range of questions, everything from like how to create it, who should do it, whose responsibility is it, production value, cost, budget, metrics and measurement. There was a pretty lengthy thread recently about that specifically. So I have some questions for you there. But I would love first just to get an intro from you, Ben. You run video content at Podia. I have only like a loose understanding of like the full spectrum of your job and your background and all that. So it'd be great. Maybe if you could just give us some background there.
Yeah. So quick story. I think it was 2019 Craft and Commerce Conference. It's put on by ConvertKit. Some folks from Podia were in attendance. I think they also were one of the sponsors for that event. And so I also attended, but I did not meet up with any Podia folks at that time. But they talked to a guy named Sam O from Ahrefs, and he's I can't remember what his exact title is, but he, in addition to other things, he runs their YouTube channel, has had amazing success with it, and so they had a conversation and kind of decided, you know what, it's time for Podia to open up a position and really try to focus on growing the YouTube channel as a meaningful marketing channel. And so I got the job later that year. And so when I was first brought on, my primary focus was to create content for the YouTube channel, to grow it, and really for a number of reasons, like providing educational and valuable content for creators is something that we're passionate about as a company. So it was just giving us an opportunity to do that through a very engaging medium. And then it's also a good signal when you have a healthy subscriber count on a YouTube channel. It's a signal for social proof and that kind of thing. So that was my primary focus. And then I was also going to be creating videos for product announcements and feature releases and that kind of thing. And so that's pretty much what I've been doing here lately. There's been a little bit more of a shift toward doing video for marketing initiatives. That's still something that we're doing through the YouTube channel, but that's not geared as much toward YouTube growth as much as it is kind of leveraging the audience we've built. And then we are also going to be producing online courses and really trying to do those well, meeting creators, where they're having their biggest struggles and trying to provide something that can take them more in depth and produce some results for them. So that's gonna be a lot of my work in the months, maybe years to come. So
Super cool. That's super interesting. I wonder, I guess also if people have questions, feel free to just drop them in the chat. And I think you may even I think people should have the option if they want to just turn their camera on and even ask it too. But chat is good too. I'm happy to queue stuff up for folks. I wonder, to me, like when I think of, okay, so I'm sort of comparing like video content to written content. There's like, for a written content strategy, you probably come up with a couple of different lanes, like a lane being like, you've got SEO, maybe you have thought leadership, maybe you have like kind of more like product folk, like a use case type content. And then when I think of video, I imagine there's something similar, like there's very product focused content. Like I sort of feel like I know you already because I'm a Podia customer and I've watched quite a few tutorial videos. And like video seems like a really amazing way to just show people, like in Podia's case, like here's how to create a course, here's how to run an event, here's how to, there's very specific like how to things. But based on what you just described, sounds like there's probably a few other lanes. Do you think of it that way? Or like when you think of video strategy, does it, you know, like, is there a framework in your mind that's different than that to help you think of like kind of a sort of like a holistic approach to video?
Sure. So the strategy that you apply to YouTube for YouTube growth, which really like, that meets all of the other things you want YouTube to do for your business. If you're growing an audience, you're getting more attention to your business. So um, everybody kind of talks about this idea of niching down and finding something really specific as you possibly can, and sticking with that topic. YouTube likes that a lot when it comes to recommending your videos, and because the calculation there is, okay, is this channel an authority on this topic for these people? One of the challenges with Podia is that we kind of we're an all-in-one platform. So we cover a lot of different problems. We solve a lot of different problems for creators. And so in order to kind of relate our content to those problems, we find ourselves kind of split into different topic lanes, if that makes sense. So now that's just for the educational content. Then there are things like when we have a new product release, because we have that audience there, we want to share, okay, this is a new feature that we're adding, or this is, we recently added a free plan. So we had a big marketing push around that. And so we kind of, strategically intersperse those things with our educational content so that we still have the growth that you get from providing that type of content, while still being able to leverage that audience and bring attention to these other things. So we could grow the YouTube channel faster if we only focused on one topic. But we kind of do that at the expense of providing value to the kind of creators we're attracting, these and the way that they'll use our product, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
because they're using our product to solve so many different problems, we want to make sure that the content we're providing is a reflection of that as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm getting some messages on Slack that some people are locked out. So I'm going to queue up a question from Kyle, which I think is a very good question. And then while you answer that, Ben, I'm going to try to troubleshoot this problem real quick. And we have another question from David too. So, but first, Kyle had asked, I'm interested in hearing how you're measuring the success of your channel. Are you looking at YouTube stats by themselves, or are you looking at web traffic from YouTube, YouTube's impact on SEO, etc.?
All right, Kyle, that's a great question. So right now we're really just focused on YouTube analytics and using different signals in the YouTube analytics to figure out how the channel is doing. I focus a lot on two things: views and impressions. Views and impressions kind of paint the same picture, but it really comes down to how much are we getting our brand in front of people? How many people are being exposed to the Podia brand? And then when it comes to channel performance, so that's kind of how we gauge channel performance in terms of its connection to our actual brand. The channel performance by itself, one of the things we look at is subscribers. Obviously, if we're having regular subscriber growth. I also look at a video level on things like audience retention and seeing how well our videos are keeping people's attention, keeping people engaged. And then I kind of keep a loose track on the comments that we're getting and whether or not people are engaging in that way. Excuse me, this is kind of an unconventional measure, but I also sometimes will do a search in the comments for the word helpful or help or helped. anytime someone mentions, hey, this was really helpful, this made things easier for me, and so I look for those things as signals too, that our videos are doing what we want them to do, um, for our channel, and uh, kind of creating that picture in the viewer's mind of what our brand is all about. I think is just as important as having them be aware of our brand in the first place.
Love it.
I do want to talk about the other parts of that. So we don't use any like I think it's called UTM link or something like that from the video. We do link to our website, but we're not currently tracking, at least as far as I know, we're not currently tracking how much of the traffic to our website is coming from specific YouTube videos. We have a sense of how much traffic is coming from YouTube in general. So we do keep track of that, but I'm actually planning on implementing a little bit more of that granular sort of tracking to see, okay, which videos are performing well for us. And then I can, take those videos and kind of work backwards and figure out, okay, how did I set up the call to action in this video? What were some of the things I did in this video that might have made it more likely that they'd click on the link, things like that.
It seems like, just anecdotally, that video is a lot more of an art than written content, which is in some ways can be boiled down to a science. Like, we all know, or have like a pretty strong understanding at least, of like the search algorithm, like what it wants, and like always qualities at the top of that, but that's super subjective. The rest of it is fairly well understood. Do you find that to be frustrating? Like, I feel like I would find it to be frustrating, but maybe like, sort of a more creative person or someone who like really works more deeply in this world doesn't think of it that way.
Yeah. So I'm not an analytics minded person. And I think that was, I think that's one of the things that kind of helps me sometimes. So for example, I'll make these videos that are like for marketing initiatives that are a little bit more fun and kind of comedic maybe, or I did one recently. We put together this thing called the Creator Friendliness Index. And it's just a ranking of different companies based on how creator friendly they are. And then we actually came up with a methodology, figured out, okay, what are some of the key principles that constitute creator friendliness? And then we did the scoring and the ranking based on that. So I made a video in a like 50s era style educational video, like with
I need
the
to find the link for that.
yeah, I'll have to share it with you. Kind of the old fashioned sounding voiceover. And I have twin boys who stood in as actors for me. And the video was how to be creator friendly. And I had a great time making that, and we put it out there on our YouTube channel. It did not perform well. Like, I think we got fewer views, fewer likes or comments, and then I think we may have even lost one subscriber. But we also heard comments from people either on Twitter where we shared it or elsewhere, saying that they really appreciated that. They found it funny. It made their day. I get comments like that on those types of videos. I've made several just, throughout my time at Podia. And that's one of those things where if I was more analytics minded and I was too focused on like, okay, I want to make sure that everything we put out performs that well, I wouldn't be as willing to take those creative risks. But to answer your question about it being an art, I think in some ways it is an art. But the more time I've spent working in YouTube, and honestly, the more time I spend on YouTube as a consumer of content myself, the more I feel like I start to understand the different levers that and while there's not there isn't a like step by step, here's how you like, it's all earned experience, it's all time and trial and error. But when you understand kind of the end result of what you're going for, so for example, if you want a higher click-through rate, that comes down to how you title your videos, the thumbnail, and I mean, and so, in some cases the description, but you can test a lot of different things. You know that if people are finding this video, if it's showing up in their suggestions and it's compelling enough, then it's being effective, and so it's really just like tuning for those specific things. I hope that makes sense. I'm kind of
Yeah, no, I think that's great. There's so much here, and I feel like it's making me think we should do this again sometime. I'm wondering. Well, David asked several questions, all of which I think are really good, and would love to queue up for you. One quick question I have is, where do you hang out? Like, are there communities, blogs, newsletters, YouTube channels where you gather with other people working on this? And like, basically, like, is there a super path for video content folks? And I ask that because I would imagine that there's a lot of content marketers who are curious about this, or maybe even have been tasked with kind of figuring out what their company's video strategy should look like. Are there places we can send them?
I wish I could send you to a specific place. There was a community I was a part of for a while, and they have not been meeting now for several months. But I could, I think I can go ahead and point you to this creator's channel. At the very least, there are a lot of great resources and a lot of great conversations, especially for like newer YouTubers. So the creator that I'm talking about is Heather Ramirez. And I think you can look up Heather Just Create.
Yep, I see it here. I'll drop the link.
Okay. Another one who is, are you a creative entrepreneur trying to make an income from your passion? Sorry, that's another really good one for more advanced YouTubers is Roberto Blake.
Awesome. I'll drop a link to that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say between those two, there's plenty of really great information. But yeah, I'm not currently a part of a community, and I would love to jump back into one, or maybe I should just build one.
That's a great idea. I fully support that. Cool. So David asked a number of questions. Can you see David's questions in the chat, Ben?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, maybe we can just we can run through these. The first one, how have you found certain types of videos perform better for B2B audiences versus B2C?
Yeah, so it's really interesting with Podia. We are technically a B2B company because people join our platform to, build and grow their business. But it really has more of a feel of B2C because most of the people who are coming onto our platform are individuals, they're creators, and it's kind of this different classification that doesn't fit neatly into either B2B or B2C. And when it comes to growing an audience on YouTube, whether you're doing B2B or B2C, the most effective way I've seen is providing educational content that solves a problem that's specific to an individual. So if you're thinking about B2B content, you're really thinking about what are the problems an individual inside this type of company is experiencing that I can address with my content. And when you're thinking about B2C, it's the same thing. It's what's a problem this individual is experiencing that I can address with my content. But
Love
that
it.
educational type content really does seem to hit well.
I feel like you kind of covered the second question there too. Another one David had was, what does the team and or toolkit look like for video production? Who does animations, edits, uploading, etc.?
Yeah, so I currently do the whole process from topic ideation and content roadmap, video content roadmap, all the way to publishing and promoting. The other parts of our marketing team will handle like paid advertising or promoted videos and that kind of thing. But basically, from conception to publish video and shared on other social media platforms, I own that whole process currently. So that that's something that over time I'm really interested in, growing my team out, and at the same time it's been kind of hard because I really genuinely enjoy every part of the process. Writing is probably my biggest bottleneck, and it's because I feel like that's where I am the weakest in terms of my experience and skill. And then editing is actually probably my strongest. I feel like I can just, get lost in editing for hours and really enjoy that part of it. But yeah, it's kind of difficult because I'm not sure, like, when or if we expand the team, do I want to get somebody who does what I do and kind of duplicate our efforts, or do I want to start to fill different pieces of what I do and kind of supplement it that way? So to answer the question about the toolkit, I use Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing. I've got a DSLR camera and a shotgun microphone that I use for capturing, and everything's done in camera so that I only have one file to export into my computer. And then from there, I do a first pass edit program called Script. And I don't know if you've ever heard of the Script. It's it has been primarily a podcast recording and editing software that can also handle video. And the thing that it does that's so cool is that when you bring a video or audio file into it, it automatically creates a transcript, and you can edit, excuse me, you can edit that transcript and it will actually make cuts in your video. You can also do a search for filler words and that kind of thing, and it'll automatically remove those. So it's an amazing tool that saves me a ton of time when it comes to doing that first pass edit. I use a teleprompter when I record my videos, so I like script everything out. And sometimes I'll have to do like multiple takes of a section or something like that. And so it makes it really easy just to pull those out, and then I can just put that into Premiere Pro. So that's probably as far as, and then as far as animations, I've actually found Canva. I was doing all of my animations either in After Effects and bringing them over into Premiere Pro, or I was doing them directly in Premiere Pro as I was editing. I've actually found that Canva has some really great animation templates. And so I've actually been using those. I've moved my entire title and graphic animation workflow into Canva. And I do maybe just a few things still in Adobe Premiere Pro.
That's really super interesting. I had never thought of using Descript for video. That's pretty cool. We do some like really basic video editing over here, but I think Descript would actually really help because I'm just tinkering around with iMovie mostly. Um, I know we're coming up on time. We have a few other pretty good questions here. Bruno asked, he has two questions. How do you typically source and decide on topics for new videos? And then in addition to that, what would be your main advice to someone who's just starting a B2B YouTube strategy and is limited on resources?
All right. So it used to be really collaborative with the content lead. We would kind of sit down and go back and forth. And then since I've taken a little bit more ownership of that process, but a lot of what I do is really trying to, we have the Podia creator community now. I can look through there and I can find, common things that people are struggling with or have questions about. Of course I can go to other online forums like Reddit and do some searching around there. But a lot of it really is based on what our product already solves. We have been using internally kind of this idea of the creator journey and how the Podia journey fits with that. And so if you think about the creator journey and all the way from I have this knowledge or I have this skill, I've been thinking about sharing it with other people, starting a blog or making an online course or just selling a guide or something like that. I've been thinking about maybe growing an audience around this and talking about it, all the way to I've grown my audience. I've created several products. I'm scaling my business now. I need, I'm going to have teammates and people doing different things and processes. We want to provide content for all of those folks around the things that Podia can do for their business. Not just to point people to Podia, but to be genuinely helpful. So that is kind of the bigger answer to that question is we're really trying to do a great job of defining what the creator journey is so that we have a really good understanding of what kind of content would serve different creators at different stages in their journey, identifying the content gaps that we have and trying to fill those.
That's super helpful. I feel like because video is so time intensive to create, or at least that's my impression, like by the time you script, shoot, edit, but like that's a lot of time, probably far more time, I would imagine, than whatever the equivalent piece of written content might be, where you can kind of just do it all in a Google Doc, mostly because like editing, I would imagine, is the thing that probably really can start eating up hours and hours of time.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know if we can get many people to answer this, but I'm curious to know, like, when it comes to making video, what's the most time intensive piece of that for you?
I would be curious what other people think. I find, well, we do some videos here. A lot of it is this type of stuff. We record it. I clean it up a little bit and we publish it. We have some videos on like landing pages and things to explain what is our Slack community, or, how does such and such part of the business work, things like that. Nicole says editing for sure. I don't do any editing. So it doesn't, like, I trim it just to like clear out the kind of the junk on either side, but I don't know how to edit. And I find it to be very intimidating. I wonder too, if a lot of folks are resource strapped, like in the sense that we are, like super path, like at some point it'd be amazing to have a video content marketer on our team. We're certainly not there yet. Renga says scripting for the teleprompter eats up a lot of time. But like, I'm sure there's agencies and stuff that would help with this type of thing. Again, that seems like we wouldn't quite be ready for that. Just a resource constraint. So we're sort of forced to do like the DIY thing, which I feel like kind of works actually. Like I feel like people have become so used to videos that look like this one that it's okay. I'm not like so stressed about the production value any longer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, one of the things I think a lot of creators get hung up on is this idea that, oh, if I'm going to do video, if I'm going to do YouTube and I'm going to, do it well and actually grow, I have to have this like really well produced content. When a lot of times you can just turn on a camera and talk about the thing that about the problem that you solve, and just do it, do it live, live streaming that content, and then maybe going back in, like you're mentioning, and just kind of trimming the fronts and the back. You can actually, if you just do that consistently, and that's really the key, right? It's that consistency. If you're doing that consistently over time, um, and your audio quality is not terrible, that's probably the, like, more important than video quality is audio quality for
Oh,
sure.
that's interesting. That's a good tip.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so I'd say 50% of the content I consume on YouTube, I consume with the screen off. Like I turn it off,
Oh,
uh, and I'm just listening to it in my AirPods, or I've got it playing while I'm doing dishes, or something like that.
oh, that's really interesting.
And that's just me, but I know a lot of people do consume content on YouTube that way as well. So
We have one more question. I know we're over time. Do you have a few minutes to chat, Ben?
yeah, yeah, sure.
Um, Kyle asked another question for you, Ben. Have you been able to connect YouTube growth to any sort of customer conversions, or is Podia aligned on YouTube as a top of funnel channel? I think that's a really interesting question because I would imagine that's probably where folks get pushback from leadership about putting really time and money into creating video content.
Yeah, so this is actually one of the big questions I've had in our organization, is really like, how do we create that connection? We even though we've been around for a while, and we have a really amazing product, and we've got a lot of people working on it, as far as YouTube as a marketing channel and how we measure that, as the success of that in terms of conversions, we're really just starting to seriously have those conversations and think about ways to implement that. So yeah, so we don't have anything concrete in place yet, outside of being able to see, how many people are coming to the website from YouTube. But in the near future, I see us, going to individual video level, making some custom links and being able to measure things that way, being able to see a path from, the path that people take from a YouTube video to the product, maybe looking at different, like the pricing page or something like that, and then ultimately converting. Um, and yeah, so that might be a good follow-up. If we get a chance to do this again, I can tell you, okay, here's what we've been doing, and here's how it's been working.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Cool.
And to answer the last part of that question,
Sure.
we have been thinking of and using YouTube primarily as a top of funnel, a top of funnel marketing channel with middle and bottom of funnel inroads. But most of the content we produce is still pretty top of funnel.
Very interesting. We should, if you're up for it, Ben, I would love to revisit this at some point, because I feel like there's a lot more here. Can't thank you enough for your time, and we'll obviously point people to the Podia YouTube channel. Can we point them to anything else? Like, I mean, your Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube website, or anything like that?
Yeah, so I want to make sure, I should have figured this out beforehand, but yeah, so definitely check out the Podia YouTube channel. And then you can also go to bentoalson.podia.com. I'm going to send you to my Podia website, and you can sign up for my newsletter there. I talk about
awesome.
YouTube strategy, a lot of this kind of thing. primarily for kind of newer creators who are trying to start and grow their YouTube channel. But I'm going to be sharing, there I share a lot of the kind of behind the scenes stuff that I do for the Podio YouTube channel.
Awesome. That's great. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll publish a recording, obviously. Ben, I'll follow up with you so we can drop some SuperPath swag in the mail for you. And
Awesome.
if you ever feel like chatting video stuff, there's always conversations happening in our Slack channel. So we'll send you an invite to that also. And if you do start a community about this, we will gladly promote it for you.
All right. Sounds good.
Cool. Well, thank you, Ben, so much. Thanks, folks, for coming. And we'll definitely be doing this again soon. Hope everybody has a great day.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everybody.